Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we are going to look at the weekly metagame breakdown for historic best of one format. Notably, this Saturday will be the qualifier play-in historic best of one. So if you win at this event, you get into the qualifier next weekend, which will be historic best of three. So this is your chance to play for the Arena Championship qualification. So notably, usually these extended formats take a couple weeks to kind of get an injection of cards in. We're looking at about a week's of data, not a huge amount, if any, Final Fantasies really kind of coming in. I know a lot of folks are trying out various VV shells, seeing if there's a way to break it there. I played an Urza deck on my channel, Urza Affinity deck, which was part of the special guest. We won every game we played 3-0. Like for the video, it was a little like we bet the Sorin deck, we bet a high ranked Sorin player. But I think it's still like a card or two away. It's definitely playable, but I wouldn't say like lock it in for the qualifier type thing. So we're going to look at the decks here from Untapped. If there's anything that kind of comes up between now and the weekend in terms of potential meta breaking kind of concepts, we will highlight it ahead of then. Now, notably with the best of one format, it does tend to be fairly linear. So you're either trying to kill turn 4-ish, or going hard control through like tempo elements. But most of the decks are trying to do their thing and do their thing very efficiently. So unlike best of three where you could grind a little bit more, best of one is very linear. We're going to look Diamond Mythic rank. All the deck lists will be in the video description, so you can copy paste, and we'll jump into it. So Boros Auras, the highest win rate deck, likely the deck I will jump in with. I played a bunch of this in best of three as well for the metagame challenge. Got like 60 packs and netted out even on gold, which is like the best way to play. But this deck here, for those unfamiliar, you are using Light Paws and Core Spirit Dancer with a bunch of auras. The flex card in this deck is the Amped Raptor versus Hushbringer. I personally prefer Hushbringer. Hushbringer turns off a lot of incidental decks, especially in best of one. There's Persist Combo that's reliant on ETB. There's the energy decks. There's the sacrifice decks. There's like a Johnny decks type thing. Shuts off all that. Mono green is shuts off. It can buy you time against Sorin combo because Olenda's an ETB effect. So there's ways to kind of help you out there. And on its base stats, being a flying lifelinker can help you race in some aggressive matchups. I prefer the Hushbringer over the Amped Raptor. To me, Amped Raptor is more in the kind of grindy matchups. You can have something like that. But I think Hushbringer has a better spread, all things considered. You have the other thing, don't play 2 All That Glitters, play 3 Shard Mage, 1 All That Glitters. This is just a tutor target from Light Paws. But the core of the deck, like the best lines to start, you plot a Demonic Ruckus. You play Light Paws, Demonic Ruckus, you get Sheltered by Ghosts, you get some built-in protection, and you can kind of snowball from there. So the deck can output huge amounts of damage out of nowhere. You can get haste. Sticky Fingers is a card that's played in some number. In my version, I'm just playing a couple lands to splash for Aya's Ghost Form, just in terms of black. This lets you proactively get a protection effect, so you don't have to hold up Giver of Ruins or like Esper Sentinel type effects. But that's kind of the, or not Esper Sentinel, just like Giver of Ruins or Shard Mage for mana. Lurrus Companion here. Then we have probably the boogeyman of the format. I really hope that they ban or nerf something out of this Sorin deck. Just the format's so homogenized around this where everything is just watch out for Sorin. So with this one here, how it works is this is the Jund version. There's many flavors of Sorin, but the core of Sorin decks is to cheat into play Saint Elenda as early as turn 3. Elenda is a 4/7 lifelinker that lets you draft a card from its spellbook and then cast it for free for the turn. It's basically a bunch of cards like Faith's Feather, that 3/2 vampire that gains 4 life. So you could deal with artifacts, enchantments, draw a card, lock down any permanent from attacking or activated abilities, or just get a 3/2 body. You gain 4 life, and then at your end step, based on the amount of life you gain, you get a token. So it kind of takes over the game once it comes in. This deck's got a lot of hand disruption, cheap removal. You have Jarsel, which is kind of like a Snapcaster that flashes back cards from your graveyard on combat. Starts with like 1 CMC, then goes to 2, 3, and kind of up the curve. The deck is going to self-mill with Malevolent Rumble to help you find combo pieces, assemble the teams like Demonic Tutor, but just a third of your deck that you can search through. So a lot of ways to consistently find the combo. And then you have the backup plan of Emperor of Bones that can reanimate Signalenda, or you can do the combo Emperor of Bones with Ulamog the Defiler. So you need access to 4 mana or over 2 turns. The Emperor of Bones will exile the Ulamog. You have to be in full control. You can then, or like stop on your pre-combat. It then, you put into play, Ulamog sees itself in exile when it comes into play. So you get 10 counters and you annihilate your opponent's whole board. So it's like a cheat into play kind of effect. We then have Affinity, 74%. So like I said, I played a Urza version of the deck. There's quite a few ways to build this. This one is Azorius. I went mono blue, but core of the deck, you're using a bunch of like artifact synergies. Tamiyo makes artifacts that feeds your Affinity, then very easy to flip with Thoughtcast or Thought Monitor. You have Emery that mills you into kind of combo pieces or artifact pieces. Mox Amber helps with some mana generation. You have Retrofitter Foundry and Ornithopter. You can kind of create the loop. You make a 4/4 token as early as turn 1. Emery can rebuy your Ornithopters. White cards for like Esper Sentinel, for Portable Hole for some cheap removal. You have Metallic Rebuke, which is mana leak for 1 mana. And then Kappa Cannoneer is kind of your top end threat. Close out the game. Notably in the mana base, you have Seed of the Synod, which is an artifact line. One thing to note, this can be hit by Fragment Reality, Divine Purge, any sort of artifact. We have Boros Energy. So there's some nerfs for those coming from modern or paper formats. Ocelote's Pride is 2 mana. Galvanic Discharge makes 2 energy, not 3. And Guide of Souls requires 4 energy instead of 3 to activate its ability. But this deck here is a lot of the elements. You have your Johnny piles. So Johnny, Goblin Bombardment, Amped Raptor hits you into your stuff. And then you have Fragment Reality, just flexible removal, Static Prisons in here, Thraben's Charms, really, really flexible in best of 1. Creature removal, Enchantment Hate, as well as Graveyard Hate for combo decks that might exist. And then Voice of Victory as kind of a silence style effect, makes a bunch of red tokens, works with Bombardment and a Johnny. Some Flages on the top end with Arena of Glory to haste it out. Then go to the 4-color food combo, Sam combo. So Infinite Combo, Samwise Gamgee, Cauldron Familiar, any sort of sack outlet. Bartholomew, some of them are playing Cartel Aristocrat instead of the Bartholomew since it has some protection and it's also not legendary. Goblin Bombardment as another sack outlet. How it works, Cat comes into play, or any of your creatures makes a food token. You sack the cat and then it comes back off that food token, generates a new food token, infinitely go through the loop to drain them out. Birthing Ritual helps you dig into the combo along with Amped Raptor, and then you're just kind of doing fair kind of beatdown stuff with like the Johnny's flips and stuff like that. Starting Town in the mana base helps clean up this a bit, especially because you're colors. 5-color Woodlands, or really Gruul Omni Woodlands. So this deck here is built around shifting woodlands, cares about having Delirium for types of permanents in your graveyard, and then it can become a copy of something. So ideally you make it become a copy of Omniscience and then free cast a bunch of Eldrazi's or Atraxas, or you can have it become a copy of Godpharaoh's Gift. Similar with the Emperor Bones combo, you have Ulamog that can cheat out and do that same effect to haste and annihilate your opponent's board. The deck's using Satyr Wayfinder, Malevolent Rumble, Cathartic Pyre, a bunch of ways to put cards into your graveyard to help you find the woodlands. Reverse can also help you dig. You have Lootings, Extraction, just flexible card, Haywire Might for hate pieces, Vampire's Vengeance against like the aggressive decks, but it makes a blood token that you can then loot away cards as well. Simic Eldrazi, so you're going big with this one. You have access to Ugin's Labyrinth to make double mana, so basically a soul mana. You're leveraging things like Devour of Destiny to set up your early draws. You have Null Drifter that can draw you cards. A cool interaction is Ugin's Bindings, 3 mana, and then it gets flashback from your graveyard for free if you cast a 7 mana spell. If you evoke the Null Drifter, it still counts for this Ugin's Binding, so 3 mana Cyclonic Rift is very strong. You have Utopia Sprawl, Malevolent Rumble, Mindstone, all to help you ramp early. Kozilek's Command, really flexible card again, just removal, ramp, card draw, graveyard hate. So in Mycospawn helps you ramp up as well as eat away at your opponent's lands. You have some kind of tutorable lands, uncounterable, removal of Blast Zone, Phyrexian Scrapyard just helps you, it could become like extra lands and eventually Soul of Phyrexia. A Woodlands in here as well. So then just kind of big mana on the top, Ugins, your Eldrazi's all mixed in. It also is a Karn deck, so you have access to a 7-card best of 1 Karn board. So you have access to like Portal Phyrexia as an Edict, Cityscape Lover to blow stuff up, God Pharaohs as a tax effect, Liquid Metal Coating Karn, you can blow up lands, stop activated abilities, Pithing Needle for activated abilities, Haywire Might for hate pieces, and Tormod's Crypt for graveyard hate. We then go to Persist Combo, 61%. So this one here is basically a self-mill deck. Could win on turn 2. What you're trying to do is put into your graveyard either Scholar of the Lost Troves or Conspiracy Unraveler. You persist them back from the graveyard, and then Scholar can recast like Emergent Ultimatum, and then you just kind of get some big stuff. Breach the Multiverse for Rejuvenation, Expropriate, you take extra turns. Conspiracy Unraveler could collect evidence over and over and recast things like Breach the Multiverse or big spells from hand. So you're self-milling, you have Faithless Looting, Other Relegate, Tome Scour, Izzet Charm, Glimpse in here. Just a bunch of ways to put cards into your graveyard and kind of go to town from there. We have 4-color Sorin. So this one, again, it's Abzan Sorin with the red. This one's a little bit more mid-rangey. You have the Blink package, so it's kind of like the Sewers deck in Modern. Balemerk helps mill you into the combo. Dedicated Dollmaker is just a more consistent Felia. You don't need to attack. But you could just blink it. Very strong. Turn 2 this, turn 3 this, blink it, it animates itself. You can blink permanents like Oath of Nissa. You can blink your Saint Olendas. But this version here is just using green to help you find the combo. And then when you're self-milling, you also have Olivia that you can cheat into play that can then reanimate some of your big stuff as well. Some a little bit more interaction with temporary lockdown. We have Azorius Tempo. So this is a best of 3 list, but you're likely going to see some version of this in best of 1. How this is working is with High Noon, you're basically making it so your opponent can't cast more than 1 spell per turn. You have basically a bunch of instants in your deck, so you can play on both turns. You can lock your opponent out with things like Spell Quellers, Arcana of Mirios, same kind of effect with 1 spell, Remands, Reprieves, both ways to kind of time lock your opponent and then draw a card. Alien's Throne Guard, another way to kind of bounce a spell in the stack and then just beat down with flyers. There's versions on Teferi, but most of them don't play Teferi. You could play Kalim, you could play full set of like Spell Quellers in place. Fragments in here, Flood Maws is cheap interaction as well. So you'll see like the sideboard in here, but it's even if you want in the best of 1, just playing Containment Priest instead of Teferi can be a strong choice. So some decks from Platinum but are doing well and can win. This is the mono black Jet Medallion Storm deck. So Jet Medallion reduces the cost of black spells. So Priest of Gix comes in, it adds mana. You could create loops with like Chthonian Nightmare, just getting back cards from your graveyard and creating loops with like either say Shambling Gas, Greedy Freebooter, making treasure. And then since you have the cost reduction, this is only 1, so you can kind of keep looping them over and over. Sack, get it, sack, get it. Priest of Gix does something similar as well. Chittering Skull Speaker can draw you cards, and then you just drain your opponent out with Marionette Apprentice. You have tutor effects in Edict and Mausoleum Secrets to help you dig for your combo as well. Another powerful card in this deck's Phyrexian Tower that just allows you to kind of cheat ahead on mana. We have Selesnya Devotion, Mono Green Devotion. So this deck here is a ramp deck. Sometimes you'll see Temur Battlecry version that's fairly similar in the concepts of the deck. One quick thing, you probably want Beseju in here as well as one of the green creature lands. But the core of the deck, you're using things like Fanatic of Ronas, Utopia Sprawl. You should probably be on the full set of Birds of Paradise instead. But you're basically just ramping ahead. Kiora taps and taps mana, generate a huge amount of mana, storm the festival into like Elish Norn for double ETBs, shut off your opponent's ETBs. Cavalier, Karn board in here. Karn lets you kind of win that turn potentially. Chromos Memorial gives you haste for your whole team if you could go wide enough. And then just a bunch of like 8 pieces. Stones for sacrifice decks, Graveyard Hate, activated abilities, copy something from your opponent. You could also play Mindslaver if you want to take over your opponent's turns. And then we have Izzet Wizards. This one's in Platinum. So this is a Quarry Steel version, a little bit more aggressive. We see Surgical and Noxious Revival, both as free spells to trigger Quarry that turn potentially, as well as just extra prowess triggers for your deck. Symmetry Sage has been buffed in this format to 3 toughness as well as 3 power. And then the very strong card in this deck is Swift Spear Seeching. It's a cantrip that makes your next creature come into play with prowess and haste. This prowess stacks, so you get multiple instances. Also works really nice with things like Dreadhorde Arcanist. Gives you some extra power boost to flash back bigger spells. And with the trample, you can push through a bunch of damage. That's it for the week. Let me know what you've been playing, what you've been liking. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.